Hello and welcome to the 7th Planet Destiny podcast. This is Patrick Casey here. I'm joined by Sir Wallen, Tefty, and Briar Rabbit today. And first off, before we get started, I really wanted to talk about our newest thing that we got going here over at Planet Destiny. We have the Looking for Group tool that we are currently beta testing. We are building this pretty much entirely by community suggestions, so it's really cool. It's automated, so say you want to queue up for Crota. You're not going to go in there and look for a group. You're going to get paired with a bunch of people. A lot of really interesting features there. The only problem that we're having right now is there's just not a lot of people using it. So it'd be really cool if we could get some more people on there. I know we've all used it, and probably after this podcast, I'm going to be using it a little bit more. You guys want to say anything about it if you actually have had some experiences with it?
If you'd like to play with Planet Destiny, guys, this is what we're going to be using and what we've used in the past. So if you'd like to play with us, this is probably a more effective way of going about it than trying to randomly add us as on your friends list. Just because when we are actually creating a group, this is where we're going to be, and this is where we're going to be pulling players out of.
I'll be on it. I'll be on it for sure.
Indeed.
I know a lot of people really want to get that community aspect down and playing with the Planet Destiny group community that we have going, and using our own LFG tool is probably more beneficial, like Briar's saying. So I'm going to be there. I'll be there for sure.
Yeah. Yep. The auto grouping feature honestly is really great, because how many times have you posted on LFG and is waited, and then you get random messages and you're like, oh, well, but now it's full, and that type of thing. But the auto grouping is great because it's like, here you go. Here's a group. Run with it.
Yeah, it's a very slick interface.
Yep.
Yeah, really well made thus far. We put a lot of time and effort into it, and it has the makings of a really cool tool. It's definitely it's more unique to some of the other ones out there. We just kind of have to start building our user base so people will actually go, hey, let's use the Planet Destiny one over Destiny LFG because it's so much easier. Yep. That's what I want to happen.
Absolutely,
I definitely agree.
All right.
Yeah.
And Tefty has actually just started up on the PS4 as well, haven't you?
Yep.
Schrader. Sorry.
No, the Xbox One will always be my first love.
Okay.
And will continue to get first attention.
Welcome to the dark side.
Sucked in by the allure of Hawkmoon.
Yeah, actually, that Hawkmoon does look mighty tasty. I got my first
you'll get it
exotic,
soon
though,
enough.
and it was a Vex Mythoclast.
Yeah.
I wasn't
Good
even
one to get.
a week into the game yet.
I think it took me like a solid 2 months to get my first.
I didn't get mine
lucky.
until a week before Dark Below.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh God.
Do we all have
I was
Necrochasm though?
yeah.
That's my question. Yeah, I don't.
Nope.
I don't
No.
have it either. Okay.
Really? You guys don't have it?
No.
Okay.
No.
I've had three.
I've only run-
Cruxes drop for me so far.
Can I have one? Is that?
I would gladly give you one.
Thank you. Okay. That makes me feel better. Better. So.
I think I've only downed Crota like 3 times on hard mode
That's it?
in total.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. Well, I downed it for the first time like 2 hours after it was released, and I was like, oh man, that was.
Yeah.
and then I was like, okay, let's try it again on our other 32s, and then we just beat our heads against the wall for like a solid 3 more hours. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna tired of the bugs, just gonna set this down, not really venture into it. I have all the weapons because I got really lucky for some reason, so we'll just not do that for now. And then 1 week ago, my friend was like, "Hey, I need some help running." It's like, okay.
I mean, they fixed
I'll
it
help
since
you.
though. It's a lot smoother now than it was.
It really
at
is.
launch.
Seems like it,
Agreed.
Yeah, and plus
Yeah.
everyone's used to running
Yeah, it's
it
a
now
much
as well,
smoother
so
experience than it was.
Yep.
I'll start doing it more. I'll even use the Destiny LFG or the Planet Destiny LFG tool to find a group for it. There we go.
Yeah, I normally run it once a week with my normal raid group, and then twice a week on my alternate characters with LFG users. So
Nice.
even with LFG users, it goes pretty smoothly at this point, as long as everybody brings rocket ammo.
Right.
Yeah. This week, we had a couple people drop out, and we ended up 4-manning it three times in a row, actually. And for whatever reason, sometimes less people can actually benefit the Crota experience because I think
Indeed.
there's less connection issues and less possibility of the oversoul. But then we've had other weeks where it just has been really difficult. But I think it's getting better. You should grab that Necrochasm.
I'm trying.
I want to get
Not
it.
that it's any great.
That
But
recent
it's you want your Grimoire score up, right?
Yeah, and you want to hang it on your wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think weapons actually increase your
You
Grimoire
get a Grimoire
score.
card for it.
The exotics do, right?
You get a Grimoire
Yeah,
card.
the exotics do.
I don't think they do. I don't believe they do. I know you get a card for it. I don't think they
I'll have
actually
to check
increase your
because
score.
I'm big
though.
on that one. I have like 28.55 is my current score. So.
Oh, I think you got me.
Oh,
beat
what's
by, like,
up? 10. And you're on the
10.
PS4 too. Me and a couple guys that I play with on the Xbox, we have a competition trying to get it, and like I played with pulse rifles and shotguns prior to the patch to get the points for there because you get like 15 per weapon if you get. I think it's like 10,000, 5,000 kills, something like that.
It's quite a few kills. I still need my shotgun.
I mean, you're in store now because it's a charm to use it now. I'll tell you that.
It is. It's really fun to use
really
shotguns now.
Yeah, you can. I've been using shotguns on bosses now. Archon Priest is.
I know.
It's fun,
so
man.
much fun.
You can hop his melee attack too. You just kind of hop it. You hop backwards and he won't hit you with it. Get right back in, drop some more shotgun shells, back out, get some ammo, and then you're good to go. And I'll say that the argument, the high risk, high reward kind of thing does make sense. Does apply with the shotguns. So it's a lot of fun, man. I'm so glad they
especially
made
if light switch is turned on.
Oh god, oh yeah. Oh. That's a lot of risk. That's a lot of risk.
Have you guys taken part of the joyous new sport of Devil Walker riding?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's so much fun. Get a shotgun and get your whole fire team, and then it's kind of like one of those little fake Bronco things at the bars. You get on, you see how long you can stay on, and see how much damage you can do to the Devil Walker. At the same time, make it a fun competition with your fire team. You can indefinitely stay on there. You just have to time your jumps correctly for when he does his like electric smash thing. But you can just stay up there and then shoot him with a shotgun the entire time. It's pretty fun.
Starship Troopers, where
yes,
where Johnny Rico
exactly
or whatever
like that.
gets on top of the bug and just shoots into it.
Yeah, that you feel exactly like Johnny Rico shooting on top of the.
I think it was
tanker?
a tanker. It was that big black beetle looking thing, man.
I believe, that shot the orange ooze that melted people.
Michael Ironside, fun fact, was in that movie as well, voice of Sam Fisher, or at least he was the voice of Sam Fisher until they let him go. Sadly, it's like the voice of Solid Snake. They let him go recently and replaced him with Keith Sutherland, and it's like, what are you doing? These are classic characters that you're taking away. Like, these are voices that we've grown up. Like, we've all played Splinter Cell. We've all played these games. You know what I mean? And they're just changing
things.
Well, or they could do like what the Japanese anime companies do and just keep the same voice actor for the duration of the series, no matter the age of the character. Like the voice actor for Goku, I think it's actress, is the same person that did Dragon Ball all the way up to whenever. Like, they've used the exact same person. That's why Goku sounds like a 12-year-old kid at all times.
Gotta love Goku. That new Dragon Ball Xenoverse game apparently is pretty bomb too. I don't know if you guys have
looks
seen
cool.
That. It looks.
I'm
sick.
interested in it.
I think I played one Dragon Ball Z game and that the new one looks pretty dope. So
before when Halo came out in the dorms, and after we kind of got over that after 6 months of doing that, I think Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3 came out.
That was impressive.
That was impressive. Yeah.
That sounded like a sample.
I heard that title screen a lot. We played the crap out of that in the dorms. It was really fun. But anyway, back to Destiny. This is a Destiny podcast. I do have something to get off my chest about last week. Last week I kind of predicted what Xur was gonna have to sell, and I didn't really predict it. Okay, so basically there's this guy on Reddit called Mega Man EXE4, right? I think that's his full name, and he likes to data mine Bungie's servers through some way, and he can effectively tell us what Xur is going to sell like down to, you know, if he even has heavy or not, or at least if he's supposed to. And last week he posted that he was going to sell Universal Remote and Heart of Praxic Fire. So I didn't predict it.
Shame.
Everyone was amazed by it. Wow. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
The Wizard of Oz isn't real?
Trust.
But we have some good news. I mean, he's supposed to. I think he predicted that Xur will be selling Skull of Dairam Kara, so Warlocks will finally have every single exotic if they've been playing since the beginning.
I have
you're
that
happy
skull.
about that.
I don't have a Warlock.
Yeah, that's the last thing I'm missing as far as exotic armor goes, so I'll be happy to pick that up. And then Helm of Saint 14, I believe, will be coming again. And I think it'll be Icebreaker. So, and I don't remember what Hunter's got.
Oh, I think they get the
whatever.
Ahamkara spine. Young Ahamkara spine, I believe.
Oh, the arm piece?
I think so. I think I remember seeing that, yeah.
It's not a bad list right there, you know?
No, that's a good list.
I'm excited because I don't have Icebreaker on the PS4. Oh, snap.
Yeah.
I think I don't exactly know how he's doing it. We kind of had that conversation before the podcast. Our own little theories on how he's doing it. And there's obviously some fact there too. But you know, there was a conversation I had with a couple of my buddies about this, and you know, as cool as it is that he's able to predict what's going on, I don't like that at the same time. And maybe I kind of like the mystery that Xur brings. You know, like, oh, what's Xur gonna bring this week? What's the Nightfall gonna be this week? Kind of thing. And I understand that, you know, some people don't like that. They don't like the insecurity or the unpredictability of it. And I get that totally. But I guess the argument is, you know, don't consume that kind of media if you don't want to listen about it, you know, kind of ignorance is bliss kind of thing.
Don't read the end of the story.
I'll bet you Bungie doesn't like it much either.
They can't.
And I got to think that they're looking at figuring out how he's doing it and that they're going to change whatever, you know, whatever it is that's allowing him to do it.
Yeah.
It's not just Xur that he's predicting that he's data mining as well. It's like all of the House of Wolves stuff. Like he's accessed all the new missions. Like he's one of the main sources that we're using for a lot of our articles, in addition to our data mining stuff that we're doing. But like he gets some really interesting things. Like, oh, there are 3 new missions, or hey, they've already renamed some of the missions. And I was like, whoa, that's cool. Or they've added more.
Images of splash screens, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that side of it, like getting the future content, is very cool. You know, props to this guy for doing that, because that's something that is incredibly just, I don't know how to describe it, but it obviously takes a lot of work to do. It's not something simple that you could pick up off the street. So props to him for doing it. But I think the cool part about it is that we kind of see what Bungie's not really telling us in terms of House of Wolves content. And that's probably part of their marketing plan, where they don't want to reveal everything, so you get the surprise factor. But at the same time, you know, Bungie is not very transparent on a lot of things sometimes. So, you know, that argument can go both ways. But I think getting information about new DLC content is always a good thing, regardless of the source.
Yeah. Well, you have to keep in mind as well, is like, if Bungie told us everything that they were doing, then we would have like nothing to look forward to at the same time, in a certain way. Like, we can always look forward to new content, but say, you know, like, hey, we're working on this right now, and then it doesn't get implemented, then that would be really
There was a story Bungie told, and I can't remember exactly when I heard it, but they talked about the raid before the game was released, the Vault of Glass, and how even internally, people who were working on the game weren't allowed to play the raid because they wanted everybody to get into that raid fresh. They didn't want the secrets and how to run it to leak out before or even as the game was being released. Right. And I thought that was really interesting. It was a kind of an insight looking at how Bungie thinks of these secrets. Is they're not necessarily trying to keep this information away from us because, you know, they want to save it for a big press release. They're also looking out for our benefit so that all this stuff is fresh. You know, running a raid without kind of knowing anything about it is a really cool experience that you only get to do once, and only if you're lucky enough to have stayed away from YouTube videos or streamers, and all your raid teammates have done the same thing. So seeing, like, you know, that there may be a new tower, seeing like all these like kind of leaks that are coming out of this Mega Man guy, some of it's concerning. You know, some of it could be, you know, spoil some of the surprise of House of Wolves for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's two-sided, you know. on one end, we're in March, and a lot of people thought House of Wolves was going to be March, so there's like a certain starved sense.
The original date was
March
next
10th.
week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not happening, so there's a growing rumbling. Yeah, I know, right? There's a growing rumbling about, we need more content and that type of thing. And that's why this Mega Man guy is providing some sizzle on the grill.
Well,
you know,
That's true. That's true.
I mean, if
we're smelling that steak cooking.
I might drop an unpopular opinion in here, but I think Destiny at its core aspects is pretty shallow if you look at everything. You know, it's not like a typical MMO shooter where there's no MMO shooter, but a typical MMO.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah, a typical
That's my
MMO
bad.
shooter. What game are you playing? I think Firefall or
It's the
something
only one.
is the only.
Yeah, PlanetSide, sort of,
Yeah, the
not
only
really.
one.
You know, like.
There's no real reason to play PlanetSide
Shooting
aside
people?
from like getting just shoot people and then upgrade your character / get interesting guns. Oh shit!
But with World of Warcraft, when you compare it, you know, and I probably that's unfair to Destiny, but when you do compare it,
That's really unfair. That's a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
MMO.
You got to think about World of Warcraft 1.0. You know.
but even World of Warcraft 1.0, you know, like I played the beta back in WoW days, and yeah, it was pretty rough, but it still had more depth than Destiny did. And I think that kind of goes back to a lot of what we're talking about, where people want more content because in reality, there's not much of it. You go in Destiny now and you do one of two things. If you're a hardcore player that's been playing since launch, you really have already accomplished everything. You've done the hard raids, you've done pretty much everything, you've done every single daily activity, and all you have really in front of you is setting personal goals. Like for me, my personal goal is to get all the Grimoire cards as possible. Like that's going to be really challenging because I have to play Rumble, right? So that's me, personal block, but that's a personal goal that I have to set. But when you were talking about Tefty, you said you hit like level 27 in 2 days, basically, on your fresh account.
Yep. Uh-huh.
You know, that right there, you know, you obviously have the experience coming over from the Xbox. You know what you're doing. That makes sense. The
And
time,
a community of subscribers that helped me.
Yeah, you had all the advantage.
It wouldn't have happened without them.
Right? But what I'm trying to argue here is that I think the reason there's a player burnout and there's this drive for more content, more transparency, is the fact that when you get on to play Destiny now, if you're a hardcore player, you're getting on to do the daily bounties and maybe play some PvP and maybe do a raid. But, you know, in reality, you've already done those things 100 plus times.
Yeah.
So that's my argument. There's no crafting system. There's no real interaction beyond just getting on to shoot the same aliens. And I understand where players are coming from when they are putting the game down and they're playing other stuff. They're not happy. They want content. They want this guy to data mine everything.
So I'm going to jump around a little bit because in our notes, we also have a link to the article about Destiny's GDC panel.
Right.
And in it, they actually talk how they were surprised by the amount of time each player plays Destiny per day. The average player plays Destiny for 3 hours per day. And they actually say they were expecting 39 minutes. 39 minutes a day out of each, on average out of each Destiny player. They were blown away by how much time each player is putting into Destiny. Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of speaks to the amount of content that's in the game, but it also probably speaks to what's going to be coming out in the future, because now they're seeing, okay, we have actual data on how people are playing this game, and we're going to accommodate those players. So in the future, I think this is probably going to change a lot too.
I mean, I hope so. I hope so.
I would say
I do
so.
too.
I think a large problem of it also is the actual production cost of a first-person shooter versus a top-down third-person camera is quite significant, because with first-person shooters, the detail has to be very high.
Right.
There's multiple versions of geometry that they got to make for everything. Like, you can't just have the character model, you have to make the hands also. Then in the hands, you have to make the gun model for the first-person view versus the third-person view. And there's all these extra activities that have to be done on the production level to make a first-person shooter come to life. So you couple that with the fact that it's an MMO light type of shooter, it's very costly to make a lot more activities. Like if we had double the activities, I don't know if this game would ever be released until maybe 2016.
Would that be a bad thing though? That to kind of jump in, would that be a bad?
Yeah, because it would be, because I'm loving playing the game right now.
Well,
yeah, I mean, I've had a great time.
I mean,
I mean,
I am really anticipating what they're going to do in the future, but I think what they released is really fun. They could have worked on it for forever, and we would have never gotten to play it.
They also had to see if it was going to work,
That's true.
Yeah.
Because if they had decided to go for the full vision and have all these planets ready in our solar system like immediately, and it turns out that nobody liked it, that would have been maybe $1 billion down the drain instead of 500 million. You know,
I mean, there's a lot of good arguments on both sides. I mean, I just look at it from, like I love Destiny. Don't get me wrong here. I'm not trying to argue the position that I'm one of those guys that isn't about it, but. I'm not delusional in the sense that, I'm going to champion everything. I believe in the hypercritical, pro-consumer mindset. That's good for everybody, not just negative on Bungie's part.
Totally. Yeah.
So, while I think, like you said, the 3 hour per average player, that doesn't surprise me. It really doesn't, because the activities you go into are addicting. You're like, oh, I want to get, like, for me right now, I'm trying to get 20 packages. That's the thing that's keeping me on to get in, do the bounties, play PvP, and then do the raid for fun with my friends if they need help. And that to me is like, yeah, I want to get on and play today. And they kind of, what they're giving you in a way is like breadcrumbs. They're like, here's Inferno mode, here's Iron Banner, here's some more, and it's very, very little. And then they give you the whole piece of the loaf, and they say, here's DLC. Here's Comet, here's whatever else is next. And I kind of like that. But at the same time, it's weird. It's like a love-hate in a way. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about if I'm down for the model or not.
Right. To make a comparison, like a lot, we do a lot of comparisons to like World of Warcraft, because that's the pillar of MMO gaming. And you have to think, like, that game is 10 years old.
Yep.
There's so much content there just from the 10 years. So, like, when we think, for how much content we want out of Destiny, if we keep comparing all the games we play to ones that have had years and years upon years, like a decade's worth of content built into it, on top of like the half decade of content that was put into it just leading up to the game, we're going to be falling short if we keep comparing it to that. But at the same time, I think what you're trying to say is there definitely needs to be more options for us to do in the game than just run these same strikes over again, do the same bounties over again.
I think it's telling that they expected players to put 39 minutes a day in, and that's how they designed the game. In the future, they now have the data that says 3 hours, so they're gonna have to. I think Eris Morn actually shows this, is that they saw that actually players need more to do, like a bigger bone to bite on. So, her bounty line and her kind of storyline takes a lot longer than some of the stuff that released with the game.
True.
And I think in the future, we're going to see more stuff along those lines, where it actually takes you much, much longer to get through content in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting argument. I look at it to try to like analyze, where the player burnout is coming from, and, where that negativity is coming from. And for me, that's where it's personally coming from. I look at Destiny, I say it's a great game, it's fantastic. I understand that comparing it to, this is the problem with any game, but when you start comparing games to other games, you're always not going to realize those expectations. But you have to compare it to something to give yourself a scale in a way, like where you're going.
Yeah.
WoW probably isn't fair, and I agree with that one. That's definitely not fair, because like you said, it's getting 10 years to do what it's doing, and it is the pinnacle of MMOs. But there's other games that Destiny takes a lot of inspiration from. In terms of story-wise, you could say Destiny takes inspiration from Dark Souls. In terms of gaming, it definitely takes inspiration from Halo in a way. And
it's built on the same engine as Halo.
It feels roughly, I wouldn't say identical, but it feels very familiar. Hopping in feels pretty much like you're playing Halo in a way, like Halo 6 or something. Mm-hmm. But they, on the GDC, they showed the pie chart, and they don't really show percentages, but you can kind of get the gist of it. But the story and patrols and strikes are pretty much the top three, taking out Tower. Those are the top three. And I think that's interesting, because, patrols are a big part of the game. They're just maybe, if they were made a little bit more in depth, I think people would really enjoy that. Strikes are great the way they are, I think. The story, a lot of people have opinions there, but I think if they made patrols, which is one of the larger portions of the game right now, more interactive, more player choice, more player influence, that would go a long way with a lot of people, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
I agree.
I think there's plenty of room to grow in Destiny. There's plenty of things that Bungie can be looking at and, looking to expand upon. And I think looking at all the player data that they have been looking at is really going to inform their decisions in the future.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what they do for not only for the upcoming DLCs, but especially in 2 years for Destiny 2. I think that is, that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, they're developing it right now, right? So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. We probably won't see anything of it for at least another year, right? Maybe longer.
No.
Yeah, I mean, we got to
maybe we'll
first.
Maybe we'll get we got to get the comment first. Maybe we'll get lucky and we'll see like a screenshot or something from a screenshot at E3.
I mean, they're hardly talking about House of Wolves.
That's true.
Yeah.
In the spirit, as usual, when we're recording this podcast, Bungie releases their weekly update when we're on the air.
That's right.
And they're talking about update 1.1.2. They're not talking about House of Wolves.
Yeah.
And 1.1.1 just came out, last week. So it's like
they're not talking about much else in that update.
Yeah, it's a limited, informational update, but
it's an update to tell us that there's an update coming. So not much.
To go a little off topic here, did you guys see the Nvidia Grid announcement? Yeah, the console.
Yeah, I did see it.
No.
My question is do you think you're gonna be able to play console games like Destiny on that?
I haven't looked at Nvidia.
I think it's going to be PC focused mostly.
PC focused. I think
is it supposed to be kind of like a Steam machine idea?
Yeah, it's like basically what it is. It's like streaming. It's like this little tablet looking thing, and it basically cuts the GPU out, and all you have is like a basic API interface that you can go in and buy games, and the GPUs. They're powered by, like, they have like a storage center or whatever of just thousands of GPUs that basically power the game, stream it directly to your TV or your grid box, and then boom, you play it right there.
So this is something like PlayStation Now, or is it called PlayStation Now or PlayStation Live?
Yeah,
PlayStation Now.
Where your game is actually being played on a server somewhere, but it's streaming both your inputs to that server and the video from the server to your console.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Nvidia has been really excited about this for like I think a couple years now, and this is like a new announcement of like a console that's dedicated towards streaming.
I'm sure it'll be great once everybody's got Google Fiber. But until then, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, but I mean, when they did show it off at their announcement board, everything was working. They were playing PC games 1080 60. And, I hate to harp here, but I legitimately think it's going to kill the consoles in 5 years.
You think?
No way. Nope.
Yeah, I do.
There's no way the internet is going to be that good across the country.
I really don't think. I think it really is less determinant on the internet at that point. I think it's more or less determinant on the amount of GPUs they're putting behind it. All the consoles and generally all information that we're getting, all technology is moving towards streaming anyway. TV, everything that we're picking up is moving towards this direction.
There's still input delay though.
There's of course
the delay is too big.
There's always those negatives, the input delay. But when they were showing it off there, it was working prime time. And
seeing somebody experience it is one thing, but trying to play say Destiny or Battlefield or Call of Duty with that delay, you're going to immediately notice it because that's like a game of milliseconds.
But it
even
wasn't
streaming in home. I use a PlayStation TV, that little box that they sell. And it is so hard to aim at headshots, just streaming over my Wi-Fi network. And that's using basically the same technology, but it's in-house. It's just using my Wi-Fi network. And just the input delay going from my PlayStation TV to my console and then back is enough that it makes a huge difference.
I mean, I think there's always that issue of input delay, but I don't think it's as big as that was a huge concern that I heard when we were watching the announcement, like, the input delay has to be massive. And I understand that presentation value is always going to be, made to look way better than it actually is in practice. Yeah. But
Watch Dogs.
Watch Dogs is a pretty good example. But when you really look at it, the consoles, the Xbox and the PS4 that we have already, the hardware in there is already, 4 or 5 years old. And that is bad. In my opinion, it makes sense because if they were to put anything modern in there, it wouldn't cost $500-$400. There's no way, right? It'd be impossible. Yeah. But what Nvidia does is it cuts that. It cuts that entire period of upgrade out because all they have to do is just go into their servers and say, okay, here's the new Nvidia GPU. Bam. You don't have to upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah. I agree with you that this is the future, but I think it's a lot further out than what you're saying. 5 years, there's no way that we're going to have internet connections that are going to support this.
I mean,
like
if you have
gamers who play maybe story-based games like The Order might get a lot more use out of this than players who play competitive shooters or even like I tried to play Mega Man on PlayStation Live and it was impossible. Just playing Mega Man 2. It was impossible.
But I mean, I don't disagree when you're talking about internet, but I think if you look at the recent FCC charters, FCC not only passed net neutrality, but they also passed something on the East Coast that allowed smaller broadband companies to operate within city limits now. And while the law applies, the law only applies to two separate states. In practice, it could apply to every state and allow smaller IP like ISPs to come in and install broadband, fiber, all sorts of good stuff that really has been in the way. That's the reason Google won't come in to everywhere and install Google Fibers, because the cities are really in the way half the time. And while I agree, I think 5 years is definitely, because if you have Time Warner, Comcast, AT&T, all of these ISPs are gearing up to go into the 300s and above. Like I already have 300 down, 20 up from Time Warner, and this was added 6-7 months ago. So it's I think it's definitely getting there. Maybe 5 years is too optimistic, but I definitely do think that's the future right there.
Well, here's the other thing, though. Like, yeah, I see what they're going to do with the streaming, and I think a portion of the market will break off and be like, they prefer that because the single-player games are okay on it, The multiplayer games are going to always have a tough time because people buy 1 millisecond response time monitors for a reason, Yeah. And when you add another 20 milliseconds on top of that, like I know from personal experience that I can feel the difference. Like as a musician, I can tell when there's I can tell the difference between 50 milliseconds on a click when I'm recording and having to sync up audio. So I know that gamers are hyper critical about their response times, and I don't think that portion of the market will ever move over. But I do think it's going to become a thing, and whether or not it would actually knock off PlayStation or Xbox, I don't think it would, because PlayStation and Xbox are both becoming their own. They're already their gaming hubs, but they're becoming more of a like what Steam is, basically. It's a place where games and gamers get together, communicate, talk about games, share videos and all that stuff, and it's happening on their platform. And Steam has kind of Steam has been the model essentially in the past 10 years for how that can really be a good thing that happens, And I think that's what they took from that and started doing it in both PlayStation and Xbox. And I think it's going to continue that way. So the platform is going to become agnostic, but the actual experiences of what PlayStation offers and Xbox offers is going to be exclusive. Do
you think that they're going to move towards a more like an Nvidia model where they kind of remove the GPU necessity and just apply it to streaming? It's, so you don't have to rely on upgrades.
I think if they could get the delay out of the way, then they would. But I don't think the delay is ever going to be able to go away unless the entire infrastructure of the internet gets remodeled. Because right now it has to go through all these switches and relays to be able to have data transferred through the internet. And that's why some people can have a good internet connection but still lag, because they're going through a bad relay,
I'm pretty sure you could be like hardwired into the giant modem that exists in California, like in South Park. That's the source of the internet. You could be hardwired into that, and you would still have a red. You would still have a red bar in Destiny, depending on who you're, because you're connected to a potato box in Australia.
Yeah,
And that's the
somebody's hosting, and they're 5 down and 1 up.
Have they explained that? Mm-hmm. Like the issue with server latency being as gnarly as it is sometimes in PvP?
Well, that's the thing. It's not server.
Yeah, there's no server.
It's player hosted.
It's all peer to peer.
It's all peer to peer.
It's all peer to peer.
That's why sometimes you'll get into a patrol,
in the game.
And the enemies will just disappear and skip around the screen. You'll be like, "How is this possible?" Oh, that's right. It's peer to peer. Somebody that I'm
even
in
the
the
tower.
game with.
There will be no vendors at the tower.
That's right. I've seen that.
Yeah. Yep.
For my entire experience on the alpha, I was one of the people that had the lovely thing of I never actually saw another player for the entirety of the alpha.
Really?
Except for when like I queued into the Devil's Lair. That was the only time I ever saw another player.
Is that because your NAT type was like closed or strict or anything like that?
No, like my internet never changed. It was like basically Bungie was still figuring out how people connected to it. So I was one of those unfortunate people that never met a single soul during the alpha.
Because I'm Battlefield, they do primary server hosted, like dedicated servers. So you buy into a server, right? And I understand Destiny and Halo have always been different. It's always been hosted, and so COD's kind of the same way. But I think the weird thing though is that I don't notice it when I go play Call of Duty or games like that, even Halo, where it's gnarly like that. Whereas it's Destiny, it just feels like everyone has potato Wi-Fi internet connection sometimes in PvP, and like it kind of subtracts from the experience in a way. It's weird, but is there a solution to that? Like, is there?
I can confirm that Call of Duty and Halo were the same way.
Yeah, definitely.
They were absolute. I mean, I play a lot of Call of Duty, and I get some really bad internet sometimes.
So I don't know. Maybe
anytime you get the jump on somebody, shoot them. They turn around and kill you in Call of Duty. That's clearly an internet issue, unless your aim is awful.
Yeah, I have so much footage of that happening, and just in like the past few weeks, it seems like it's gotten really bad in PvP lately. It's really never noticeable in PvE. Unless it's an extreme circumstance of just mobs kind of jumping around a lot more,
or not taking any damage,
or not taking damage for a certain amount of time. That's a very extreme case, and it's pretty rare to happen in PvE, at least for me. But in PvP, it's almost the main problem with it is you can have a perfect match with everyone having green bars, but then all it takes to ruin a match is that one person on the other team with a red bar,
that's true.
Or that with a bad connection. And now, whenever you go into a firefight, you have to think, "Oh, is that guy gonna be there? And am I gonna have to focus him way more than I should to make sure he's dead, and then die to someone else?"
And why is that guy always a blade dancer?
Yeah, why is he? He always has a shotgun too. God.
Well, you'd say it's like what, maybe 60% is good games, right? No lag, maybe higher, 70%.
Yeah,
that sounds about right.
I'd say a percentage of my games that are actually good without lag are about 75%, but that's still a quarter of my games have at least 1 to 2 players that make the experience so much worse. Let
me ask you guys a question. Do you notice this predominantly in 6v6 and also 3v3?
Yes.
Because you've seen it in both. I wonder if it's the fact that there's 12 consoles connected together.
That could be
because it's all peer-to-peer. It's all peer-to-peer sharing information with each other. And as soon as one console starts, like somebody is watching Netflix and uploading to YouTube on that same network, then that console starts lagging. And
I'm so guilty of that.
The peer-to-peer connection starts dropping, and I'm wondering if 3v3 is better for you guys.
3v3 is a lot less. You also have the thing of there's not as many players there.
Yeah.
So you're going to get matched up. You have a better chance of getting matched up with 3 players with same connection than you do with 9 other players.
Well, I also wonder if it's actually multiplicative. The 6v6 is not just double the amount of problems; it's actually exponentially more problems.
It could be less problems too, because if you get skill-based matchmaking, which Destiny certainly has, where it's actually that's one of its primary focuses when it's pulling players together to join a match. Region, which is probably the thing we'd like to focus on the most, because that would cause the best internet connection between everybody, is kind of further down on the list. We have to make sure. If that's the case, though, then a guy who just starts is just going to get smoshed all the time.
I don't disagree, but I feel like the number one thing to any online shooter, it has to be the connection between players. And you go to Battlefield for this one, there's a very strong competitive community, but there's a huge complaint when Europeans play on American servers and Americans play on European servers, and you'll sit there and it's there's no solution. There's no such thing as an Atlantic server. There's nothing in the ocean. So I mean, while I agree, the level 1 or the level 5 or the somebody who just doesn't play PvP that much, doesn't have the skill, gets in and gets destroyed. maybe they take a look and say, okay, if you're on the West Coast, you're going to match up with West Coast people more often than you are going to match up with people that are of your same skill. We're going to keep skill in as a factor, but we want your connection and playability to be paramount to anything else. And
on the PC for Battlefield 4, I've been on servers where if your ping goes above 100, you get kicked out.
Yeah.
You know?
That's you can't do that on a console, but on the PC, yeah. And
well, I mean, they don't have it implemented, but like it's something like it's that much of a critical problem on Battlefield that they're like, okay, if you're going to do dedicated servers, we're going to give you these options, and you have the ability to kick people out who have bad ping.
Bad ping.
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel it's less of an issue in Destiny. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That is actually in Destiny, by the way. If your ping goes up too much, it's just not as extreme, or it's not as extreme. It's very kind. It's like instead of 100, make it 2,000, something like that.
You're lagging.
I think it's actually more.
It's
it's honestly more than that. It's like 5,000.
Oh my god.
Honestly, and if you have like a continuous 5,000 ms, you do get kicked.
I've
noticed
feel bad for
that.
Australian players.
That is
man.
gracious.
Oh yeah.
I feel bad for them whenever it has anything to do with the internet.
Because their internet is notoriously bad. It's like two up, or not even that. It's like 0.5 up, 2 down. That's like the standard over there.
Yeah,
wow.
that's the best over there. It's abysmal.
Yeah.
That's terrible, man.
When they're in group speak, they sound like they're on like a long distance phone call.
One of the really funny things as well, like in Counter-Strike, I don't know if you guys pay attention to that community at all, but the laggers are always from Brazil. Like it's just always.
That's true in Battlefield too.
So
I
yeah. There's nothing against people from Brazil. I wish you guys had better internet. God. But it's funny how they like if you're lagging in Destiny, you seem to have an advantage over other players as well, and this seems to hold true in a lot of online games.
It's the lag compensation. Like if your internet's really good, then you are automatically compensated for other people's poor connections, because otherwise you're going to dominate. So then they make the poor connections have better circumstances.
But as internet gets better predominantly over the next decade, it's going to become less and less of a problem.
Oh yeah, definitely.
There is a large push from a lot of ISPs, the big ones and the small ones, to get better internet to customers because United States and generally, frankly, the world is really behind in a lot of these in infrastructure in terms of internet infrastructure. And as we send more complicated information, we need better internet connections. And ISPs are slow to get on this. The net neutrality is going to be big on helping a lot of people out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's also it might slow down some of the bigger ISPs. So it's it's a double-edged sword. I think politics aside, right? I know there's a lot of arguments on net neutrality, but I think that having the internet infrastructure be in the limelight of the media and the general populace, especially that of the gaming populace, is something that's good for the future. And
definitely,
absolutely,
the fact that we talk about it, we all have our own opinions on how things need to be done. It is an issue. There's nothing. You can't sideline this one and say we'll deal with it in 20 years. This has to be dealt with now, and it's a progressive problem that, the solutions obviously are not in our back pockets because we're not techs, we're not engineers, we don't understand every little facet of the internet. But at the same time, I think that, we really kind of have to push it to Bungie and say maybe this is something that needs to be looked at. I mean, maybe it is out of their control in some aspects, but maybe it isn't on some other sides of the issue too.
How would the games work if we had people like instead of the peer-to-peer where it's like, okay, we're picking all these people, group them up, go have fun. How would it work for server-based things? Like, would we have a bunch of servers to select, and then there's just a bunch of like 6v6 games going on? It's like, oh, there's a spot in that one I can join in. I don't know how it would work, or maybe it would still do the matchmaking thing, but then it would just host it on one particular server.
You can Battlefield's a pretty good example of this. A lot of other games do this too, but what the other solution that is very cost heavy that would come out of our pocket, the consumer, is dedicated servers, and they either partition these servers from Microsoft, PlayStation, whatever, and basically you go into a server browser function or quick match, same thing applies. And you squad up with your buddies, or you say, server that is hosted by Bungie or bought by a certain player, has, these spots in. Let's get in there and go play. And that is the solution that EA sort of offers, and EA offers it in a very interesting way. They make the consumer pay for it, and you can still play in EA servers, but if you want the ability to customize your own lobbies, have your own rule set, own game types, whatever, you have to buy a server for it. Yeah. And there's been a huge argument on if, because I don't want to say this, but if Bungie or Activision were to bring in private lobbies that you had to pay for, people, I think, would be furious about that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
I think that is one of the reasons why they're staying so close to the, Halo ways, because, A, they know it. They know how to deal with the Halo matchmaking and everything, but then they also, it's just what fosters kind of a little bit better of a community, I think. It's easier, it's more accessible to people. So on top of, I just have to, pay once for Destiny and then, pay for, PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live. So I buy this game and then I'm done. I'm done. I don't have a subscription. I don't have to worry about buying servers for my friends. None of that.
Or browsing servers.
Yeah.
That's a pain in the neck.
It is.
Yeah. It's say I want to play some PvP, queue up, done.
Well, I think they could do a solution though that would be the best of both worlds. One of the main reasons that they don't do it is because of the cost. Having servers handle all that data, there's a bill.
There's
a bill that adds up really fast, especially when you have millions of players. So that's just real quick. I think that's the main reason why they don't do that. But they could implement it in a way where it was transparent. Where you could just queue up and it would smart match, and then they could potentially have VIP accounts where if you want to have your own dedicated servers that you control, just like Battlefield, I think they could do that and just have it as hey, for you MLG people, here you go. Here's some options for you, but you don't have to go through this. And if other people are hosting a server and they're opening up to the public for queuing, then it's getting queued, but when they want to use it for private matches, they can shut it off and just do private matches.
It really is if they do have, because these stats are from Activision and Bungie, they have 17 million players, right? But is that determined on characters or actual individual players?
That's accounts registered.
Okay, so they have accounts registered. So they have 17 million. So if you take that number, and there's got to be a way that maybe you just say, hey, if you want private servers or custom lobbies, you buy into it, and it's $5, And if you don't, you can still go play in those lobbies that are dedicated servers. But EA has a VIP system, so if you're a premium member, which would be the VIP system kind of thing that Destiny would potentially have, you get access into those ahead of other players that don't buy into it, right? So you get the advantage.
But early queuing.
But I think the biggest issue again is like you guys are saying is the cost is so much, because if you have that big of a player base already, you're not talking 200,000 people. We're talking 17 million. This is big. This is huge. This is a lot of people. So
could be $1 million a month.
It really could be. Yeah. Beyond that in a way. And it's they have already put in 500 million in a way on it, plus whatever else they're working in with DLC, plus whatever's on top of Destiny 2 and that production. And then, players want more and more. Obviously, it's going to come out of someone's pocket, and it's definitely would be ours. So
yeah. And again, I personally wouldn't mind if I had the option to be if I want to have private custom servers, I could pay for it, and then I could have great connections. That'd be great. And then also as a community, there could be people that have their own custom servers and they can share it publicly when they're not using it. I think that would be great for the community. But again, it's a ton more netcode to build to implement dedicated server netcode along with peer-to-peer netcode. So I understand why it's not even mentioned by Bungie right now.
Maybe Destiny 2.
I bet this is a pipe dream, I think.
Yeah, it is a pipe dream. I agree. I think it's something that, because it hasn't changed since Halo.
Yeah.
Since Halo 1. That was God, how long ago
was,
was that?
It's 10 plus years.
I know this is Bungie, but supposedly dedicated servers were coming with Master Chief Collection. And not to bring up Master Chief Collection, but they're thinking about that as well.
But that's 343, yeah. So
yeah.
I definitely know it's a talking point somewhere in some of their meetings where they kind of bring it up, but it cannot be a paramount thing. It's just something like like we say 70%, 75% of the matches are good. To them, that's a win.
That's true.
Yeah, that is it's a good high number, but I mean,
it's
also you look at that pie chart with that very little slice for PvP.
That's true.
Yeah.
How many people are we actually serving with this $1 million a month?
Well,
bill for
exactly.
dedicated server?
They actually, I mean, it is smaller, but I thought it was surprisingly even when I looked at the pie chart. Like the
Agreed.
PvP side of it was actually larger than I thought it was going to be. Like, yeah, strikes are the most, and then you have patrols and all that. But PvP is pretty close if you look at that pie chart.
It's bigger than raid. Almost the same size. I mean, I think the way PvP would get really, really big is that if they brought in private lobbies or at least custom hosted lobbies, player hosted lobbies, not the private system, and they brought in ESL or some big tournament providers came in, then it would get huge. It would become huge because you're talking about a player base larger than most of the big cons, bigger than COD, so almost as big as COD in a way. So that would get big.
Well, they're not saying 17 million active users though, so a portion of that is broken off.
Well, you got to assume that
users.
At least 25% is maybe that's being too optimistic, but I'd say at least 25% of 17 million play pretty actively. Maybe not, but that's a huge audience to look at.
Yeah, definitely.
And the esports market is always growing, and you can't obviously with anything with market you can't always say it's always going to grow, but it has been growing substantially, and PvP is definitely small. It's not what Destiny's all about, and there's a great argument between what do you play Destiny for? Do you play to play PvP or do you play to shoot aliens and have fun with your friends? It's
both.
Both.
Yeah,
some people would say both. So I got a message
Grimoire
the other day that someone said someone was like, what do you think about this? Like, no PvP, just PvE. That's all I want to play. And a lot of people agree with me on the forums. And I said, well, I play for both. So but there's people out there that will pick one or the other.
Yeah.
So, So
I think this is a good time to kind of transition the conversation a little bit. This week, Bungie has launched the Inferno mode, and I want to just get just your first impressions on it thus far. And could we start off with our main Xbox users before we get to the PlayStation users? That's the interesting thing I want to see if there's a difference at all.
Tefty, you want to take it?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I shotgunned a lot of people in Inferno mode.
Dirty bastard.
I was blinking and shotgun. I had a great time. I'm going to be honest. I had a great time. I did have a team of 6 people, and we lost a few games, but we won a lot of games as well, and maybe that gave me some rose-colored glasses with it. But the lack of radar was really fun because it changed the experience of, like, if you got the jump on somebody, you really do have the jump on them now, as opposed to you're reading the radar 50% of the time and then responding to the visual elements. And it was a fun experience. I hope it sticks around because I like jumping into those, and it did remind me a lot more of maybe a little bit of SWAT, but not exactly, because obviously there's shields and different elements in there. But it was a lot of fun, and like I said, I shotgunned so many people.
Yeah, I felt like it was remind me of the Halo 2 variant of MLG, no radar, just straight up. And a lot of games.
That's true. Yeah.
Like I came from Halo. I'm pretty sure you came from Halo 2, Tefty.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So if you're on the Xbox, that was probably your first game you picked up. And when MLG was big back in 2005, 2006, at least for Halo, it's still big now. But when it was televised and stuff like that, that was the big thing that was peddled. So to kind of play into that again a little bit is a lot of fun. I think that if Destiny ever was to get competitive, that could be the competitive game mode. May see some disagreements there, but I really enjoyed it. I have no problem with no radar. It just means you have to count on your teammates and your own ability in a way a lot more.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily the radar doesn't hold your hand, but it does in a way. It is an advantage, or it is an extra little peripheral that you don't have anymore, and I like that. So,
I will make one more comment on this. I think fusion rifles become incredibly difficult to use in this mode.
Yeah.
So if you are a fusion rifle person, you're going to have a very difficult time getting kills with it because the fusion rifle is heavily dependent on the radar, so you can predict and charge your shots around the corner.
Right.
You know, so that is one caveat, and I could see people who love fusion rifles absolutely hating this mode because you can't use it as effectively.
I didn't even think about
Also,
that.
like you can hear the fusion rifle charging like around a corner,
right. Yeah.
and then I can look and see that there's no nameplate there. Let me just whip out my shotgun and then blast them as they come around the corner.
It's a giveaway, yeah.
Yeah. There are a bunch of audio cues that I'd never actually tuned into before because I was so heavily dependent on radar. Like just the sound of Guardians jumping around, suddenly it becomes so loud. You can't hear footsteps very well in this game, which I'd actually like to see them address if they keep this mode around for a long time, or if they
at all. Actually, like I tried so many different methods. I turned all chat off, just turned game volume sound going on. I could not get footsteps to show up, and Bungie very specifically said, like, you can hear footsteps in one of their updates about Inferno.
Coming from Call of Duty, that's one of the things I noticed right away with PvP and in this game is that you get so used to using those footsteps to your advantage, especially once you get like a surround sound headset. You can identify exactly the direction that your enemy is coming from. But there are a bunch of visual and audio cues that I'm now tuned into because I played in Inferno that I bet are going to transfer over to make me a better player in normal Crucible. I actually really enjoyed this. I thought it was just like a really exciting brawl, and definitely shotguns are the key to this because you're so often like coming around a corner completely blind to the fact that there's another enemy right there. But it's so much fun to try and flank around your enemies. I've been primarily using a Blade Dancer with like maxed out speed.
Dirty dog.
Just constantly trying to flank the entire team. And when you pull it off, maybe you shoot one of them with a shotgun. You see 3 of them trying to capture B, and you just put your super down, and I'll blade dance all 3 of them. It is just so satisfying. I mean, it's really a much faster paced control mode too, because the score limit is reduced. So the games are over in like 7 minutes as opposed to like 10 or 11 minutes in normal control. And it just feels like you're constantly in the action because everybody's not kind of hanging back watching their radar. I think it's a lot of fun. I wouldn't want to see it replace control.
No,
but I like it in addition. I like it as another option to play.
I don't disagree.
Like, my overall opinion of it, I mean, I put out the initial reaction video to it, and I asked you guys a lot about it before I actually put out that video. And my opinion on it, after I played some more games, still stays the same. I don't enjoy it. While I do completely agree on a lot of y'all's points about, the radar does make it a more interesting aspect. You're paying attention to other things. There's a lot more there's a lot more communication going on with your team about the game. It's much more fast paced. I like all those things. And at the same time, I don't feel that it's fully fleshed out as it should be.
Right.
You guys, we were talking about how you can't hear footsteps or anything like that. My main issue is that, so you have Destiny's field of view. Compare it to other games, it's very narrow. It's not a very wide field of vision for a first-person shooter. So you're working on limited visual information coming in. So you're not always going to be able to see corners as you go into a room. So that means you have to check your corners, which is very difficult to do on a console shooter. It's much easier on a PC when you can quickly move a mouse. So there's a lot of the visual information is kind of stifled by that field of view. So that's why the radar is one of the really, kind of crucial things if you're mostly a visual player. And then on the other side of it, as far as audio cues go, there's not a lot of them. Basically, someone has to, double jump or fire their weapon or charge a fusion rifle.
They're running too. You can hear them run.
I have not been able to hear that.
Well, you hear the whoosh, the whoosh.
Oh, okay. You hear the start of it. Okay. So, but what if a person starts running from a farther distance away? Then you're probably not going to be able to hear it.
Right.
I don't think there's enough audio cues, even though we did just list off quite a few. I don't think there's enough audio cues in the game to really to really justify the removal of the radar at the current time, at least.
Right.
Footsteps would make a big difference.
Yeah. If you put in footsteps, I think that would solve pretty much 90% of my complaints, as far as the awareness goes. And then my other thing is that we were really talking about, getting a competitive scene in Destiny with both, dedicated servers, and game modes that are obviously more focused on a competitive style gameplay. And Inferno really feels geared towards that, because if you want to do well in it, you're going to have to go in with a team.
Yeah.
So you will always be communicating. Yep. And as it is right now, it's just part of the revolving door of playlists. Like, it comes in and out with a bunch of other stuff. So, I want to get good at it, but at the same time, I don't want to devote the time to it to really figure out how to play without the radar until it becomes like a more frequently until it shows up more frequently.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because as of right now, if it just shows up once every month, so 1 week out of every 4 or 5 weeks, then I don't want to devote the time to it.
I mean,
at the same time,
I think that's fair, but to kind of go in the footsteps, I don't think, Tefty, correct me if I'm wrong, but Halo really wasn't about sound whoring footsteps. At least I don't remember it being, and I think that's where they take a lot of their cues from, is what they're experienced with, and that's Halo. Now I understand that's going to be a complaint regardless, and while I don't remember it being a complaint back in the competitive scene of Halo, I understand where this isn't Halo. So I get that. And at the same time, you're picking up players from different games. From, you have PlayStation guys who maybe not have ever played Halo or have only heard about it, seen it, never really played it. So it's difficult to cater to just one side of the community, I'll bet a very small portion of the community, because Xbox is smaller than PS4 on this one. So I understand that the footstep complaint, but I think the reason that you can't hear footsteps as well as a lot of people may like to hear them is because it's basically a picked mode from Halo in a way.
Yeah.
Can you hear him at all? Like, I really can't hear him at all.
I don't hear him
when
at all.
I die in Inferno, it's often a guy who's run up behind me and shot me in the back with a shotgun, and I had no idea it was there.
Yeah, I don't.
Like, I did, like, actual tests where I would just stay crouched, make no noise, have my sound turned up, like, into ear-bustingly high levels.
Yeah.
And I would watch enemies run right past me, and I would never hear their footsteps.
Right.
Yeah. So if I can't hear them when I visually see them, then that means I'm not going to be able to hear them behind a wall or anything else like that.
Then it's something that I think should be addressed. Especially if they've said that you're going to be able to hear footsteps and you can't hear them. I think that should be addressed. Again, it's not my complaint, but I understand why it is a complaint. I personally don't. I have Astros and I have bought into buying the 1MS monitor and stuff like that, to just have a better experience and on a more equal playing field with other guys that consider themselves competitive players. But at the same time, it's very, very difficult to make sure that everybody's happy, especially when you're talking about two different consoles here that have different ideas on what competitive is.
What I'm interested in seeing is like people's opinions on it, like as far as the community goes, from both PlayStation and Xbox. And I want to know if like people, so if you're listening to this and you're on YouTube, post a comment down below.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
I really want to like see if it's PlayStation users that have never played Halo don't like it, or if like Xbox users kind of have some nostalgia goggles on, or just are like it because it's more familiar from other game modes. I'm interested in seeing that and see if I can start like seeing any correlation between a lot of the players.
I also wouldn't mind seeing them address the weapon balance a little bit, because the shotguns are so strong in that mode, because you come up with so many close range encounters.
Yeah.
It would be kind of cool to see like player health reduced a little bit, so other guns kind of can compete with shotguns at a closer range.
Increase a little bit, maybe.
Right.
Increase the damage on other weapons, or just decrease the player health for that mode. I think that would cause hand cannons and auto rifles to be a little more competitive against shotguns, which are just really dominating in this.
My Hawkmoon loves this idea.
Yeah.
Wally, did you notice? Could you hear footsteps?
No, I don't.
No?
I mean, but it's not. It's the thing is, it's not something I listen to.
Yeah, I didn't recall thinking about footsteps. I recalled thinking about the other cues. Like in Halo, there's less audio cues. There are footsteps, but they're light, and also if you crouch in Halo, then you're completely silent.
Yeah,
when you move,
you're and you're off radar. And like the big thing too is that I pride myself when I play is off teammate communication.
Yeah.
So when you play, and the maps are pretty well defined in terms of like angles and lanes you can play and sort of setups.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that Inferno is based around that. It's based around going in with 6 and being able to communicate with them. You're not going to have the best experience if you go in by yourself.
Yeah.
So
I had a good experience going in myself too. Just Mr. Lone Wolf flanking everybody.
Well,
that was my primary purpose, and it was fun.
What sensitivity do you guys play on?
5.
Playing on the standard 3.
Three, nice.
7.
I play on 10, and I noticed being able to whip around and shotgun anybody has a little bit of a benefit. Like I can shotgun somebody and then whip. Like I did this in Halo Reach all the time too. Like my friends would be really mad at me at doing a 360 and shotgunning them immediately.
People, yeah.
And I think that lends itself to it, a little bit. Yeah. Being able to do it because I can go in a room, check the corners. I can also check behind myself relatively fast. So that it's catered to a play style. It really is. And taking away the radar means that like I said, the fusion rifles are going to be kind of useless because you're not going to be able to predict those shots, and it's a dead giveaway that you're charging up a fusion rifle.
But
to
jump on the fusion rifle thing, real quick, has it been useful since the patch though? That's my question.
Yes, they're still good.
Yeah, they
are still good.
I haven't seen them that much, so that's where I come from. I see shotguns more than fusions. I don't even see
I don't see a lot of shotguns. I see Fellwinter's Lie, which is in a complete class of its own.
The sniper rifle?
The sniper rifle.
Sniper
that
my new favorite sniper rifle. That thing came out at just the wrong time for Bungie. I mean, it couldn't have worked out any worse. They released the longest range shotgun they've ever had right after they nerfed the shotguns.
Oh man,
it was just the fact that it actually there's blue ones. I think Black Chasm. It has the same range and impact.
Yeah.
But it's just the fact that you can roll. You could roll that Iron Banner weapon to just make it even more perfect for you.
Yeah.
It is absolutely deadly.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to do something about that? I mean, we've talked about it a little bit, but do you think they're going to look at it?
They have to.
I think they have to. Yeah,
I think it's way OP.
Yeah,
I want to see, because they obviously look at how many or what weapons are being used the most. And it feels in the Crucible right now, every time I get killed by a shotgun, it's Fellwinter's Lie.
You can't
that's
blame,
because you're using it. That's the only people who could kill you.
I mean, you can't blame people for using it though. I use it too.
Hell yeah!
So,
I mean, I use it too. Of course,
I use a Judgment 6 because I have beast stats on it. So I'm a little, but it is basically a Fellwinter's Lie.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like the spear. In a way, it's like the spear. I stopped using the spear because I found Final Round to be kind of not really not OP, but it is in a way.
It's OP. It's OP.
So,
don't deny it.
And so I went back. I went back to Prey's Timepiece, and then I picked up the LDR. And I like being able to drop headshots on people instead of shooting them in the foot and killing them. So it's a very satisfying experience. But I understand. I don't. At the same time, like I don't understand what Bungie's doing, but I kind of get what they're doing because they want to level the playing field by giving you access to a weapon that you get after putting in time in Iron Banner, right?
I mean, they feel special.
Yeah.
They did specifically address Fellwinter's Lie too, and I think it was the dev open house, and people were asking like kind of about the power levels of weapons, and specifically the Iron Banner weapons. And they're like, look, we want the Iron Banner weapons to feel strong, because you do put a lot of time in there, and they specifically mention Fellwinter's Lie being extremely strong.
They got that
and
right.
I will say it is extremely strong, and just the fact that you can re-roll these Iron Banner weapons is one of the reasons why we'll hear a lot of complaints about specific ones. It's because we can like get them to perfection.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's a predominant issue, right? That a lot of players know about, but there's not a lot of people that I've recently seen the white knighting for the spear has kind of started in a way where like I got a message from somebody saying, this is when I was streaming too, saying, I can't believe you're using a spear with final round, no respect. And I didn't say anything. One of my viewers of my stream messaged the guy and said, hey, he's not body shotting you, he's headshotting you. And then I got a message back saying, hey man, sorry. But then it was like, after that, I was like, he was using an LDR, but he clearly had the spear. He clearly had it. He knows. So after that, I'm kind of like, all right, I'm going to put it away because it is kind of cheap. It really is kind of cheap. One-shotting people with shooting them in the foot or the ankle, and that's not your head. You know what I mean? Yes, did I re-roll the sniper to get specific perks that I knew were going to give me the best advantage? Of course. But did I know that final round applied to the first and the second shot and the third shot always? It's... No. Exactly. So... I don't know, the shotgun...
Well, also, they're eventually going to patch that. It's not going to be around forever. So if you get used to that, then you're going to one day be butthurt about your Aphrodite spear being useless. Or not useless, but not as good,
Not as good, yeah. And I don't want to... Yeah, I don't want to get in... Because I love playing PvP. I play it all the time, and I want to keep playing it, 5 years down the road. So I don't want to get into the mindset where, like, I'm such a good player because I can one-shot somebody shooting him. So
my favorite sniper is still Praetor's Revenge. I love that because it's six in the barrel, and like the stability is ridiculous. And I have a particular favorite scope on there as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I will say I finally weaned myself off Praetor's Revenge.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I have
with what?
I
want to know.
LDR for a very specific reason in 3v3. If someone like gets rezzed, and you know how in the animation, right as they stand up, at the height of their stand up, after they've like done part of the animation, like 2 or 3 frames before they move, you can fire off a headshot and kill them again.
Yeah.
Like that's so popular to do. If they have that red shield on, Praetor's Revenge won't kill them with a headshot.
True,
yeah. Even though you can like fire off 2 quick rapid fire headshots, you still have to fire 2 compared to 1. So LDR only takes 1. And there's a bunch of other sniper rifles out there as well that'll kill in 1 headshot.
Sure.
But LDR is just the one that I'm using. So that's why I've stopped using Praetor's Revenge, is because I mostly play 3v3, and res shields are a big thing for me.
Nice. For me, being able to 2-shot or having the 1 headshot or the 2 body shot in 6 bullets, I like that more often than being able to pick off a headshot during a res for me because of the fire rate. I like the fire rate of Praetor's Revenge and stability. Those are the 2 things that I love about it.
It's a DMR in a way, It's definitely not just a sniper. It's a DMR because of the rate of fire and the stability. Like it definitely is one of the best PvP snipers, because I would say more because of the stability and the rate of fire.
No, it's because of the stability and rate of fire together.
It's still a 2-shot
and it's got
that
short range scope.
Yeah, it does. It has the ambush on it too. I mean, you can put the mid zoom on it, the tackless. I think.
That's my favorite. I don't like the ambush.
Yes, I actually started running that too. I like that more than the ambush scope. I like the ambush scope, but sometimes the ambush is weird. Where
it has a weird feel to it.
It does have a really weird feel to it.
Yeah.
It's like if you play Battlefield, it's like a PKA site in a way. It's like a 1.5 times. It's weird.
Yeah.
So I understand. I understand where you're coming from.
We're on the same page. Texas SL15 or whatever.
That's something you guys can't do on the PS4. You guys don't have that ESPN, between us Xbox guys. We get that. So.
Synergy, man. It's called synergy.
That's right.
Well, it's okay. Tefty, he just came over to PS4. We'll convert him soon enough.
Well, but like I said,
we
Xbox
convert.
One is still my first love and will always be.
Didn't the PS4 sell like another 2 million units in the past?
Yeah, I think they're up to like 20 million or something.
God.
Oh, I contributed. No.
Oh, God.
Yeah, instead of ESP, we converse by a very, very slow system of carrier pigeons on PlayStation Network. So my message is coming to you. The messaging system on PlayStation Network is so ungodly.
I can't wait to hear where the enemies are from that game we were playing on Thursday.
Yeah, I know. I love getting rage messages like an hour after the game happened.
Is messaging like gnarly slow like that? Is that
every message is 6 minutes old.
It depends on so many things. Like every message will come in 5 minutes later. Like that's just a guaranteed fact.
Wow.
Yeah. My phone will buzz saying that I have a game invitation. I look in the notifications on the PlayStation 4. I got to wait 3 more minutes to get it.
Wow.
That's not, but
it's pretty weak.
All console nonsense aside, that is an awesome achievement. 20 million consoles, anywhere near that number, above 10 million. I don't think Xbox is even past 10 million. So, props.
The
to
Xbox
PS4
is still selling far faster than the Xbox 360 did in the same period.
Right. I mean,
so it's not like it's failing.
No. I mean, I think price drops have had a lot to do with that.
The fact that they finally took out the Kinect from it definitely helped.
Yeah, I think Xbox's and Microsoft's biggest problem is the way they shot themselves in the foot with their pre-marketing before it even launched.
Yeah, that was bad.
They killed themselves. They took a console that worked, and then in respect of the past, PS3, when PS3 came out as opposed to Xbox 360, it sold for $500, didn't it, off launch?
Yeah, PlayStation was $500 off launch,
and the 360 was $400.
Much cheaper,
yeah. And that right there is a huge problem. And and then the Xbox tried to peddle the Kinect again, which I'm gonna say is the most useless piece of crap ever.
It scares me.
When I worked at Target, I would have people come in to buy like the newest Xboxes just for the Kinect, actually, because it actually has like a bunch of uses outside of the Xbox, like
paperweight and
paperweight, door
performing
stop,
surgeries if you're a medical technician.
Very very odd wind chimes, weather vanes. Yeah, they're very interesting things. No, like they would use it for actual applications because of the motion tracking.
Yeah,
I think it like has heat sensing
it does,
in it as well.
At
least the newest one does.
It spooks me. It scares the crap out of me. My wife walks in and says, "Hi, Mimi," and I'm like, "How? What the? That's I don't like that. I don't like it doing that." I give her the controller, and it immediately switches the account. I'm like, "That's spooky." It
I
recognizes
think that's cool
people.
As hell.
Well, yeah, it is cool until you start thinking like, "What are they doing with that data?" And then I go down that path. So I unplugged mine.
It's Skynet,
officially
man.
Unplugged. It is Skynet.
You go down that road
Skynet.
though, and you'll never use Google again.
Your Xbox is going to transform and just take you out one night.
Yeah,
dude, the thing is so big it has to transform into something.
That's what I'm saying. You can't throw
it's over,
it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's over-engineered. They're terrified of it overheating. That's why.
Yeah, they put the power supply outside of it this time, like as that giant brick thing. And
well, as somebody who had like 5 Xbox 360s, I am happy of the design changes they made to the Xbox One.
That's true. Yeah.
I had more red rings on Xbox 360s than I could count.
I've only had one. I only had one, so I only went through 2 consoles. So and my favorite part about the period of times, because obviously I wasn't affected by it, but was hearing the theories on how to fix it, like wrapping it in a towel and putting it in the microwave. That was
baking it.
Wrapping it in a towel worked. It did work. It would.
You know what it is? It's the solder connection that would break off the GPU from overheating. Yep. So what my brother did, he actually did this a few times and fixed 360s. He would pull off all the components that could melt, and then put the board into the oven and bake it at like 4 something. And the solder connections would reconnect, but it would only work for like 6 months. And he would even do it with graphics cards too, and they would work for another 6 months.
I remember there was a really popular Nvidia card that would just overheat constantly, so they would recommend to put it in your oven.
Yeah, bake it.
It's like the
baked till golden brown.
The iPhone 6's iWave. You put it in the microwave to recharge it. You guys see that? I don't know if you guys see that.
I did not see that.
That was hilarious. There was someone, the iPhone 6 first came out, there was an app that people were putting around on the internet, completely fake, but it was called the iWave. And you put it in your microwave and you turn it on for like 30 seconds and you'll recharge your phone. And some people legitimately did this.
Oh my God.
And blew up
That's
their phone.
awesome.
So, the iWave, bro.
Oh, man.
Oh, the gullibility, people are very gullible. I'm a very gullible person. So, I believe a lot of things that are told to me. Kind of like the Nvidia Grid thing, so.
Let me show you how to power level that exotic.
I know. God, I still feel so bad for that kid. Like,
that's
awful.
Man.
I feel bad for that kid, and at the same time, it's like, man, like, oh, you learned a lesson, but God, that sucks to learn a lesson like that.
Yeah.
Although you know what? There is a good side to that story, though, is the Destiny community kind of rallied around that kid, like helped him power level up his gear again. And it really, there was this one real asshole that, screwed this kid over. But there was also this enormous groundswell of support for the kid and, people trying to help him out. And I thought that was actually really encouraging when it was all said and done.
There's always people like that, though, in any community you go to. There's always the jerk or the bad apple who, for whatever reason, find, just want to see the world burn kind of one thing, But I will agree with you, man. This community has been, bar none, the best community that I've ever been a part of.
Yeah.
So
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yep.
it is a good community. Like, there's a lot of arguments, there's disagreements. Of course, you get that everywhere. But people rally behind each other, help each other out. I think the LFG systems, the one that we're putting together, and of course the ones that are already out there, I think speak to that in a way.
Yep.
People are just willing to get on and play with each other. That's fantastic.
Yeah. People congratulating other people when they get good guns.
Yeah.
Like
Props,
stuff like that
man.
is crazy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
You didn't see that, back in the days of WoW when ninja looting was the real thing.
I want them boots, man. Give me them boots.
I remember that, dude. You wanted Thunder Fury, bro. Sourfang dropped the bond or whatever the heck it was, the Windseeker, bro. You would definitely see that ninja. That was gonna get
Sourfang
Like
never
in
dropped it.
Borderlands.
It was
Baron
Geddon.
Baron Geddon,
Wait, not
right?
Baron
Baron Geddon.
Geddon.
Who was
It
the
was-
other one? It was Baron Geddon and the Rock dude, right? Or was
Gar.
Baron Geddon the Rock dude?
It was Gar and Baron Geddon dropped.
That's right.
Thunder Fury.
The
Dropped
Thunder
the
Fury
bindings,
wing-
the Windseeker.
the
then you had to-
Windseeker. Yep.
Then you had to go do a full clear for Ragnaros. Then you had to farm up your 10 Arcanite bars.
Oh, I remember that. Oh god. And then you had to go in the Kunari, or what was it? What was that zone called with the bug monster?
Silithus.
Syphilis, yeah, Silithus.
Silithus, man. Syphilis, yeah. And go
Syphilis.
Syphilis.
You going to
kill-
Syphilis?
Kill Thundarian the Windseeker.
That's right. And you had to get a whole team together to do it too back then.
You didn't need a whole team. You could 5-man that.
No, he was
Okay,
like,
I played WoW way too much.
he was like
Seriously.
Lord. He was like Lord Cruel, bro. He was the real deal.
When I say I was on a 10-year WoW addiction, I seriously mean that. It really pains me. It's like anytime I go try to take a test or something, it's like, God, I can't remember this one thing I'm supposed to remember. But then why do I remember the names of all the strike bosses and
From
Ubers
10
and the
years ago. Yeah.
strategies for them? Why do I remember that I needed to go kill Beauty to get Finkel to come out of it so I could get the skinning pattern? Why do I remember that?
Power of gaming, man. I think.
I know.
Real deal. So
If Bungie, like, for the amount of time I put into Destiny, if Bungie could like figure out a way to, I don't know, change it so I could learn another language at the same time, that'd be fantastic.
that would.
There you go.
That'd be cool.
Your language reputation. Get that to level
Yeah.
20.
Like which reputation.
and make it a useful language, not something like Klingon or French.
And everyone from France just unsubscribe.
Just unsubscribe from Planet
Get
Destiny.
ready for the flame. That's funny.
That's okay. That's where we get all our No Land Beyonds from, anyway. Probably
France.
Yeah.
all the French.
Yep. Space muskets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Space.
Muskets.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching another Planet Destiny podcast. This has been Patrick Casey with Planet Destiny.
This has been Sir Wallen, and I have unpaid taxes.
Ooh.
This is Briar Rabbit with the Briar Rabbit channel.
This has been Tefty Tef with the Tefty Tef channel.
Thank you guys so much for listening. I'll see you guys next week.